Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Motor Chaos. This is your host, Dave. I got on the phone with me special guest, Top Akov funny car driver, Aryan Rochon. How you doing, Aaron?
Doing good. Doing good. How about yourself?
Not bad, not bad. Kind of crazy year this year with the COVID-19, huh?
Yeah, definitely a uh, whole lot of not racing going on. Everything's kind of nuts, but getting through it. Can't complain. So,
So have you got the funny car out this year at all?
yeah. I raced. I got kind of lucky at the beginning of the year. I went to Pomona. Everything kind of fell in my favor, and got lucky and won that race. And then went to Belrose, Louisiana after that. Didn't do too good there. And then went to the Baby Gators. Didn't do too good there. And then the Gainesville race got pulled, because of COVID. And then after that, I hit Columbus, Ohio, and the Indy Regional. And I'm going to be going to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and then the Indy National event. So yeah, actually done a lot more racing than a lot of the other teams have. So,
Yeah.
been kind of lucky on that part. So,
And how's the funny car been running for you this year?
good. I'm kind of a dummy when it comes to alcohol funny car. Bob Newberry, he's a famous alcohol guy, and he lives local to me, and he kind of got me into this whole thing. I've only been running alcohol funny car for 3 years, and then a guy named Steve Boggs, he's another guy who kind of helps me make sure I don't do anything too stupid, and it's been kind of getting my combination a little bit better, but you kind of see that with Pomona and being able to win that thing, and but still kind of a little wet behind the ears. I don't have the experience or knowledge a lot of these guys do, so yeah, just go out there and learn a little every time and try not to do anything too stupid. I've probably got maybe 100, 150 runs on the car. I'm not the best driver at this point. I'm definitely not the best tuner at this point, but getting a few things figured out. So learning how to do everything the wrong way, which in some ways is good because it teaches you to where you can understand what's going on and what you're doing wrong. So basically learn and get better. So,
Yeah, in the top alcohol field, there's so many good drivers in that field.
Yeah, you got Bellamy, of course, and Westerfield. Those two are probably, in my opinion, the best two drivers. Gordon's right there with them too, and it's a lot of decent drivers, and it's so much with getting your foot swap right, getting your gear shifts right, and I kind of have a small crew, so like I set up and do the clutch maintenance myself in between rounds, and trying to throw a tune up at the car to make it go faster, and a lot of things. I got a good crew, and I don't know, just happy to be out there and be able to do it, so, but yeah, that's really about it, I don't know, so it's, the Steve Boggs always tells me it's not getting all your ducks in a row, and there's a lot of things on these alcohol funny cars that you have to get right. My problem is I don't even know all those things, and you got to get it all right. And if you get it all right, then you actually can do pretty good. For me, learning the differences between the tracks, the bumps, adjusted altitude and, putting a combination together that kind of works is where I struggle. But once I get that combination close to right, I usually do pretty good. So, but yeah, I don't know. So, but what about you? Like, how long have you been doing the interview and stuff and all that?
It's been going about 6-7 years now.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So
yeah, I try to do what I can to promote you drag racers out there.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's tough out there. Financially things are tight. NHRA is feeling that, of course, too, and especially with this year. And I don't know, the guys get beat up a little bit, and I don't know, we get treated pretty good in my standpoint, but when I hear the old guys talk about it, they have a lot more knowledge about it than I do. They definitely get a little aggravated with how things have evolved and become over the years. And for me, I don't know any better. I haven't been around it. I haven't seen the glory days. Honestly, when I met Bob Newberry and he started helping me with I had a Brad 6 motor and an altered with a roots blower on it. That was the first drag racing car I ever owned or drove. And I didn't even know who he was, to be honest. And it wasn't until that alcohol funny car, I went to a race and people realized he was helping me, and like people started being nice to me. And I saw Bob later that day, and I was like, Bob, like, you're actually pretty good at this alcohol funny car stuff, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, you could say so, And he was just an old guy, lived a couple miles away, that would come out and help me with my car, in the local racing stuff, just for something to do, So, it's been neat for me learning the history of it, learning, how it evolved, because I didn't grow up around it like a lot of other people have. So, it's been kind of cool.
So do you get any advice from any of the other guys in the top alcohol funny car field?
Like all of them. That's one thing. Like I left. It was Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. See, I have an old SW car. It was built in '05. It was actually Newberry's last car, I believe, and it's real flexible. And it doesn't take bumps very well on the racetrack. It actually bounces, and it's kind of like a spring. It keeps bouncing. And I actually called Chris Marshall when I left Ohio, because he's the only other person I know that has an old wore-out car like me, an S&W car. Just saying, he runs really good. I've talked to him once or twice before, and he was nice enough to, kind of tell me what he had seen and what he had done. And, Steve Boggs tunes for Bellman and the Bartone boys, and, they're nice enough to sell me some of their old junk, which is nicer than my engine stuff, and, point me in the right direction. And I mean, Chris Foster at the last race, I was pitted next to him and his family, and, really nice people. Ray Drew, Bonafonte, or not Bonafonte, Pompernia, who works for Bonafonte. Of course, DJ Cox, I call him my hero, because the drive that him and his family have with their alcohol funny car. Like, all of those people. And Whiteley, it's like, I asked them about their wheelie bar, because I had a really long wheelie bar on the car. Not only were they like, hey, this is how we built our wheelie bar, this is the problems we had with it, you need to make it stronger here. They let me get underneath the car and measure the length of it, I found myself with these alcohol funny car guys, and even in the A-Field dragster side, like Jackie Frick and all of those people, like, we want to help each other. This stuff's so hard to do, and, a lot of us don't have unlimited bank accounts, and, some of us do, but it's, we want to help her out because we want to do better. We want to continue racing. You want to have that, and a lot of people, at one point I called Steve Boggs, and I was just like, man, I'm so messed up. And he's like, hey, man, don't, find your center, and really guided me back to the right direction with everything. I see that, like, that's the reason I keep racing. I mean, I went not last year, the year before last, I went to, I'm going to say maybe 9 events. I never even won a round. I lost every race. I qualified, but I lost every single race.
Right.
And then the following year, I lost every single race, and then I finally won a round at Indy, and beat Westerfield and Rick Jackson, and then it's like the beginning of this year, I went to Pomona and I won the whole race, which was nuts. I really got lucky, but all those people sharing that information, and nobody wants to see anybody else tear their stuff up, and that's what's made me keep doing it and learning from it, because it is tough, but it is rewarding. For my crew with Pomona, it's like it was awesome, to be able to. And nobody thought I was going to win that race, especially me. And Gordon should have won it. He had a transmission failure in the final. But it was well, makes it worth it, And for me, I like learning stuff. When I started doing this stuff 3 years ago, I had no idea how a clutch worked, and I didn't know anything. Now I can talk to you about taper and ID and Rockwall and levers and counterweight and changing. I mean, it's just, I know so much about it. I don't know anything like, say, Steve Boggs, like and even Newberry. They know way more than I do, but I really like the learning aspect of, learning all the new stuff that there is to it. But, that's been probably the funnest part for me. I don't get real psyched up when I drive. Probably driving is my least favorite part of it. I like driving, like, it's my stuff, but I still get excited about it, and I kind of beat myself up driving whenever I mess up. I really enjoy tuning it. I really enjoy making decisions and actually having them work out and be right. That's probably my favorite part of it. So, anywho, so.
Now, is your funny car alcohol injected or blower?
I have a PSI screw blower on it. I basically have what would be called a Brad engine with a TA1X head on it, but the head has the big ports, the big intake. Like, there's a bunch of TA1X heads, the first gen versus the later ones that they call like the 11 head. I have that. I have 3 engines. They're all the same. Actually, one of them is a Paul Beck. The other 2 are 500 short. But yeah, it's got a screw blower on it. I had an older screw blower on it. I actually put a brand new screw blower on it for Ohio. Been getting the bugs worked out on that, and I switched to a short deck, which same stroke, 4150 stroke with golly, I can't even remember the bore size, but just your kind of standard top alcohol funny car combination. Basically all the guys who run real fast, they have different stroke stuff, some of them, but we all kind of run the same stuff. The rules are so strict in the class. Everybody kind of has the same stuff, which makes it really good because you have somebody with a ton of money like Rick Jackson. He's definitely a very well-funded team with Westerfield driving. And you have a team like I don't know, Tony Bogolo. Definitely a less funded team. Well, they kind of have the same stuff. You know what I mean? It makes it cool because you can go out there with your one engine and the right stuff, and it's not out of hand. Money isn't going to necessarily get you the win. So that's another thing I really like about the class.
So what's the quickest pass you've made in the funny car?
I think my fastest pass was Pomona. I went 554 maybe, I think. 554 at 2. I think my best mile an hour was Belle Rose. I went the first qualifier, I went 262. I think I went 262 in Pomona as well. So, I'm probably, from the front runners, I'm probably about a tenth behind, from the guys who run the best. Ann Whiteley, I think she's got the world record at 276 or something. And then Bellamere with the Boggs Tune machine, they've gone 5:35 in ridiculous conditions. So, normally I try to go to race and qualify somewhere in the middle or the upper half. I just don't have the knowledge and experience a lot of these guys do. So, but that's the fastest I've been. It's once you get going, I don't know. For me, after I made my 20 or 30th run in the Al California car, it all kind of slows down. Whether I'm going 260 or 250 mile an hour, it all kind of feels the same. I try to stay calm in the call. I try not to get too worked up, stay level-headed, and I'm real quick to abort a run, because it's just too dangerous. I watch DJ Cox, great guy, great driver, and he went to Lebanon Valley and had a really rough wreck, honestly, lucky to be alive. And, I watched a lot of those wrecks in the California car. I kind of try to remind myself of those wrecks to when I'm driving my car and it's getting way out of the groove or whatever it may be. All you got to do is lift, and you lift and the car settles down, and you don't have to worry about going over the guardrail or destroying, $150,000 worth of parts and pieces, and it's just not worth it, So that's, not very competitive of me, I guess, but I always think about that sort of stuff a little bit when I drive the car, to try and do the safer, smarter thing, So it's not like any of us are really doing this to make a living, We're just doing it because, I don't know, I think we all hate money, and it keeps us out of trouble. So,
Yeah, I remember Doug had that bad wreck last year.
Yeah, and it's like you look at Gordon. He's a great driver and got a little bit out of the groove. The older Monte Carlo bodies and the older bodies, they had a lot of downforce. 600, 700, 800 pounds of downforce on the car. So these newer Camaro bodies have, I'm going to call it 60 to 70 pounds of downforce on the car. And that's why they go faster. That's why a lot of people have the same Camaro body. The downside is as you go faster, you have less air holding it to the racetrack. So as these cars get out of shape, it's kind of like a little matchbox car. When you put it on the ground and push it as fast as you can, they usually just don't go straight. They all go flipping and flopping and screwed up. And that's kind of what these cars do when they go faster and you get out of the groove and there's a bump or whatever it may be, and it just gets real dangerous. Some racetracks like Lebanon Valley is known for having a bunch of dust at the end of the racetrack. Makes it a little bit more dangerous. And like Pomona, California, the right lane, it's got some bumps in it, and you gotta know about those things and drive it as safe as you can. The one thing I'll say, with these cars, you get out of shape, you let off the gas, you pull in parachutes, usually you can straighten it out and be okay, otherwise, not the case. So, but, when I see people like Gordon who are way better drivers than me make mistakes like that, I tell myself, it's like, hey, he's better than you and he did that. It's like, you really need to play it careful because it's going to be easier for me to do. I'm going to mess up easier than Doug would, So, but,
Yeah, what
basically about it.
So what kind of body is on your funny car?
I have a Camaro body. So when I bought the car, it had a Monte Carlo body on it. It was older. DJ Cuff actually used to drive the car for a guy named Chuck Andrikia. Is the East Coast Electric car. And I put the Camaro body on myself end of 2018, I want to say.
Yeah.
And you can tell I did it myself. It doesn't look perfect by any means. But McKinney, I bought a lot of the parts and pieces from them. They pointed me in the right direction. And I think at the time, it had a older style rear end in it. S&W pointed me in the right direction with putting a strange top loader deal in it. Tony Christian, a local guy, got me a good deal through Strange on the rear end, and kind of updated the car at that point. And I can tell you, there's a huge difference for me driving-wise going from that. That Monte Carlo body was a piece of cake to drive. The Camaro body, like, I'm real hesitant with it, but there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve switching to that Camaro body, you know. But, you know, they go faster, so they'll run, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 mile an hour faster with it, you know. So it's kind of, you want to play with the big boys, it's one of the pieces of the puzzle that you need to buy, so.
Now, who are all the crew members that keep this funny car running?
So basically, I have my main crew guy is Chris Mendola. He's my friend. He's the one who really got me into racing from the get-go. I used to be a welder by trade, and he had a pro mod car that I helped him build 8, 9 years ago or something like that. And he does my bottom end. You know, basically does my engine, you know. His wife, Jessica Mendola, is my backup girl, and she also helps me with the puke tanks, the parachutes, and will help me with the clutch and stuff. I'm still kind of teaching her on that. My other crew, which I'm part of the crew that I don't necessarily have with me now due to Corona and, you know, health factors and stuff like that, but there's Eddie Davis. He does the top end, fuel, you know, help start with the car, you know, lash and all that. And then Richard Cohen, he hasn't been at races with me for a little bit. He usually helps me with the clutch, taking it apart. And then the last one is Ben Worthy, who hasn't been at the races with me. He's had some heart issues and stuff as of late. But you know, that's kind of my main crew. Chris and Jessica are kind of the backbone, you know, if you would. And then their daughter, Elena, and their son, Anthony, usually come with me too. And Anthony's only 2 years old, so Elena basically has a job of watching it. And, you know, kind of that's about it, you know. So, you know, sometimes at Gainesville, which is like my closest track, I get a lot more friends and stuff that show up. But, you know, that's my main crew, if you would. So, yeah.
All right, so
on my crew, they're all volunteers. You know, it's not like some of the teams. I don't pay anybody. I don't quite have that in my budget yet. You know.
Well, you feed them, right?
Yeah, I take them out to dinner every chance I get. You know, and I sometimes remember to get water and tea for them to drink. You know, when they show up at the racetrack. Sometimes I forget, and I got to send one of them to go and get it.
Yeah,
it's a lot harder, you know, this year.
You don't want a dehydrated crew.
No, exactly. Honestly, I'm bad with it. I don't eat the whole day when we race, and Jessica does a really good job of making sure to like force a sandwich down my throat. You know, just to get something, because it's like you just get so caught up with the car. And, you know, my car is a lot older and needs a lot more attention. You know, from the newer cars, little things break and crack and mess up more often because it is an older car. It's just, you know, never ending. You know, you get as prepared as you can. You shake the tires once, and then it's just like you got to look for what's broken or cracked on the car, and it's a challenge, but that's, like, as I say, that's what makes it so much fun. But I don't know, I'm pretty happy, it's like, mainly because in Florida, I'm like doing really good in points, and not that there's going to be a national champion this year because there's just no national events, but it's I don't know, I feel like I'm close to being able to repeat and do good more often,
So what year did you start your funny car journey? I mean, drag racing. What year did you start drag racing?
Drag racing, I want to say it was 5 years ago. I own a company that does IT asset management, so we do computers and stuff like that. I started that company, let's say, I'm going to guess 7 years ago. And because of that company, I could actually afford to have my own race car. So I bought my own race car. My friend, my crew guy, Chris Mendola, came across this deal on an Altered that we only ran 8th mile that went, I don't know, 380s at like 200 mile an hour or something like that. That was 5 years ago. So that was the first car that I ever really drove down the racetrack. Like, I'd gone to Frank Hawley's school and I'd done other stuff, but that was the first. I'd never bracket raced. I'd never done anything like that. It was a heads-up car. And I raced that 5 years ago. Raced it for a year, and then Newberry told me I needed to get an alcohol funny car, run an HRA, and I told him he was crazy. There's no way I can compete with them guys. He said, no, you can. You need to get one. I'm going to find you one. And he talked me into buying an alcohol funny car 4 years ago. And at the time, I had a bunch of hot rods and stuff. I sold all of them and bought this alcohol funny car. Traded 5 cars in basically on one. And Chuck and Drink here, I gave him a big deposit. He held the car. I paid him off over, 6 months that it took me to sell all my crap. And, been doing this stupid stuff ever since, and it's been great. Like, it's the learning aspect and all that's been a lot of fun. Before that, I want to say maybe 9 years ago, I started welding for a local performance shop, doing chromoly chassis and stupid stuff like that. Kurt Sanders, SS Welding is where I got that at. And then my buddy Chris Mendola was building a pro mod. Small block Chevy blower motor, went out there, raced the local thing. He bought a Hemi, put, an old Venny Hemi motor in it, went out there and kicked everybody's butt for a year. Went and worked with a guy named Aaron Sipple in Kentucky for a few months, building race cars with him. And, so it's kind of always around it, but more on the building / crew guy, not really tuning, but spending a lot of time next to tuners, learning what I could from them, so when I ever made enough money and got the opportunity to run something of my own, I would have enough knowledge to hopefully do okay. So, the more I get into it, the more I realize I don't know, so, but, my Altered was easy. It was an automatic car with an inverter, and you had a trans brake, and, I changed main jacks and opened Leahy Tiger. It was a piece of cake. The alcohol funny car is, there's a lot more involved. It's the clutch, and, you're racing against way better people, that are just so much more knowledgeable. And if you want to race with them, you gotta do your stuff as good as them. So,
Now, did you have any success in the Altered?
Yeah, I raced it for 1 year in the local scene at Bradenton Motorsports Park. I won the championship. Basically kicked everybody's butt. The car went consistent 380s. A girl named Melissa Hutchinson, she had the fastest car, and it was like a Altered / dragster class. She had a dragster. It ran faster than my car, but they had a lot of mechanical issues, so really worked out well. I was good on the tree. The Altered was a breeze to drive, which you wouldn't think, but it was actually a long wheelbase alter, so it almost drove like a dragster. I want to say big races. There was like the Snowbirds, which is a big race they have in Florida. I actually got runner-up at that race. I lost to Philaz, who is actually an alcohol funny car driver now. And, did really good with that car. Honestly, when I was done running that car at the end of the year, I was already actively being a pro mod because I wanted to do something else. The altar was fun, but it was like I didn't want to go race against the same 12 people again at the same racetrack. I wanted to do something more challenging, and Newberry knew that, so that's where he kind of talked me into doing the alcohol funny car thing. I had planned on building a pro mod and racing, Georgia and Florida with the pro mod, but, luckily, Newberry talked me out of that, and I sold the Corvette pro mod deal I was building, and went with the alcohol funny car. So,
So now, Aaron, what do you enjoy most about being a drag racer?
Making the right decisions and the car responding to it is probably my favorite thing. Personally, from another part of it that I really enjoy, that I'm kind of an introvert. I don't go talk, and I'm not a meet new people sort of person very well. But the part of it that I have surprisingly enjoyed as well is meeting all the people. This last race, Chris Foster just coming over. He's joking with me. You're coming to this race. You're coming to this race, right? Just that camaraderie with the racers, and me being able to go to Bellamir's pit, go to Steve Boggs, and be like, "Hey man, I'm having this problem." He's like, "Oh yeah, let me see." And Tony Bartone once, I showed him a bearing. I'm like, "Hey, my bearing's a little messed up." I'm like, "I don't know what's going on." He's like, "You ran out of oil. You broke the shaft in your mag offset." Like that helpfulness has been something probably. And I don't know if I put it probably the same level as the learning and making decisions that go the way you think they should. And surprisingly, I honestly expected NHRA all the guys to be just cutthroat. It's like these are people that do it for a living, that family. Like I didn't realize that they were as nice and friendly and as helpful as they are, especially when they see you. My first year, everybody was kind of like, all right, back off, let him do his thing. But my second and third year, especially when I was struggling, people really are like, hey, let's help this guy. There's his name's, I can't remember his name that was crewing on Jackie's team. It's just like, hey, your bell housing's crooked. You need to measure it like this. And, the FIG team gave me the tools to measure it, and it was like I was wiping out the rear main all the time. That's been really, really cool, listening to people kind of point me in the right direction and teach me all these little tidbits about it. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, that's why I always hear all the drag racers tell me drag racing's just one big family and they all help each other out.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and that's probably what keeps me going back to it. It's you look at like the Midwest Pro Mod series that they're doing with the alcohol flying cars now, and it's awesome. It's Whiteley and I want to say another big money racer really threw a lot of money at it. It's $15,000 to win, and it's just cool. Seeing the racers or in personal life are more achieved, have more financial backing, like doing this sort of stuff. And it's been pretty cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I saw Stevie Fast went from the Pro Mod to the funny car now, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta admit, like, he's still a sissy Pro Mod driver, especially because he had a torque converter in the car. But I will admit, like, he did good the first time out, and, even he said, like, one of his interviews, I want to say, you could tell he really enjoyed driving the alcohol funny car, how it was just so different from a Pro Mod, and you can jerk the wheel, you can do these things in an alcohol funny car that you can't do in a Pro Mod, and, I think it was really good for the class, and, maybe we'll get some other sissy Pro Mod guys to come over and run an alcohol funny car, instead of struggling to qualify for their Pro Mod race, and, they're cheaper cars. You buy a Pro Mod, they're $220,000 for a brand new roller. Alcohol funny car, $130,000 for a brand new complete roller. They're cheaper, they're easier to work on. Payouts better, than NHRA. Doesn't cost as much, and it'll be nice. I think it's really good for the class, especially having his big name out there and people seeing him do it, seeing him run as good as he did. He didn't have enough for the Bartone boys, but I think him and with the help of Jim Whiteley and the Strasburg boys, I think they're going to be tough to, if they keep going out there and run it, they're going to be tough to beat. I'd really like to see Stevie Fast put a clutch in it, and even if I know he's a converter guy and all that, but there's something about holding that clutch down at 7,000 RPMs and revving that motor up and holding the brake, and there's a lot to that. And swapping feet at the right time, it's really hard, but it's just like it's so awesome when you do it right, and you do it right over and over and kind of get it, So yeah, it's like once you've done that, like holding the little trans brake button and letting it go, just seems like sissy shit, it just seems like for me it's like I joke with my one friend and I tell him I want to run like an 8-second car with a trans brake once, and I'm like, man, I'll be like brushing my teeth going down the racetrack, not having to shift it, not having to do all this stuff. It's like driving wise, that's what makes it fun. It's having that challenge. You're going to screw all that stuff up. There's no doubt about it. Unless, of anybody not to screw it up, it's probably somebody like Stevie Fast who's got so much experience. But there's a lot of fun, doing it with the clutch and the shifting and everything else involved. So, but yeah, it was great for the class. I think a lot of people are paying attention to him running, and I think it's really good. It was pretty cool too in that I want to say it was Kyle Smith. I might have that slightly wrong. He qualified number 2 for the race. He has an automatic in his car too, and Stevie was qualified 3, and Bellamere was number 1, and it was just pretty awesome seeing. Like, I don't like the automatics, but seeing them accomplish what they did at that race was impressive. They really did a good job. But,
now, is there anything that you hate about being a drag racer?
Hate. I think it's dumb. Like on a logical standpoint, it's like if I didn't have that race car and I didn't drag race, I would probably not have a mortgage on my house anymore. So I guess from a financial standpoint, the logical part of me is like, you're an idiot. But it's the only vice I have. I don't really drink. I don't smoke. I don't have 15 girlfriends. So it's, hate's just such a strong word. I can't say there really is anything I hate. The things that annoy me, like at the Indy Regional, the alcohol guys were, parked in a really crappy spot. And yeah, did it suck that NHRA did it? But, I kind of understand why they did it. We're we're not the one who's drawing the crowd. We're not the one who's bringing a bunch of money in.
Right.
So, you know, it's like there's some stuff that NHRA does that I can see that's like, oh, it's not really fair to us. But when you think about NHRA, you know, you realize they're a company that's out to make money and out to survive. You know, it's like, well, I guess I can kind of understand it. You know, and you know, I don't know. The only other thing that I guess would tick me off is when some of the racers get so competitive with it, you know, and to the point where it's like, you know, you have a new guy out there, and they'll take a really long time to stage because they know the new guy's going to go through in red light, you know, like, you know, I shouldn't say hate, but it's like, I don't know, sometimes I wish the other racers would be like, hey, be competitive, but be a fair sport, you know. There's no point in cheating. It takes away the win. You know, there's no point in messing with the dumb kid because, you know, he's going to lose anyway. You know, I guess that kind of boils my blood when you have stuff like that going on. But you don't see it very often. So but I guess it doesn't really bother me because I don't see it very often. So, but yeah, for me, it's, you know, drag racing is a hobby. It's about having fun. That's why I don't take it too serious. You know, if I took it too serious, it'd be work, and I wouldn't want to do it. So, you know, for me, it's about having fun. You know, when I first got into it, Newberry's actually the one that told me it's, you know, I was taking it too serious. And I, of course, was getting my butt kicked because I was new and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And Newberry looked at me and said, hey, is this supposed to be fun? And I was like, you know what, Bob, you're right. I'm like, I need to get over myself, you know, realize I don't know what I'm doing, and ask the right questions, listen to the right people. And I'm like, and this all this stuff will start coming together, you know. So, you know, I've kind of had that attitude. You know, drag racing is the one thing in my life that I have probably failed at the most. You know, it taught me how to fail and deal with it. So it's been really enlightening in that aspect. And you know, I don't know. I can't say there's anything I truly hate about it. So.
All right. Now that you mentioned having fun, in the future, you know, in Funny Car, if you ever have any, you know, spare time, would you ever consider running a Funny Car cast?
Running again? Sorry.
Running that Funny Car cast.
Yeah, I've talked to Boggs about that, about running Funny Car Chaos or, you know, the Midwest Drag Racing Series deal. I think it'd be awesome to run it. I've seen the Funny Car Chaos. I don't know anything about the format or anything. I know, like, basically everybody runs it, you know, and it looks like a cool race, you know, and I've watched a couple Alcohol Funny Car guys, I think, win it, do really well at it. You know, it's on my list, you know. This year, see what happened this year, I won Pomona. So I'm just like, holy crap, I won Pomona. I have to go to every NHRA event I can so that I'm like, maybe I can actually be in the top 10, you know, and that was my drive, because I had such a good start in the NHRA series. Then Corona happened and everything just got goofy. But, you know, years going forward, you know, I can definitely see I can only do maybe 8 to 14 races a year. You know, that's all I can really do in my schedule and still have my life and my business. So in years forward, I could definitely see, you know, squeaking in a couple of Funny Car Chaos events and other races, you know, besides just trying to do NHRA for sure. You know, I think it'd be cool. So meet new people, see different stuff, you know, and I always like doing that. So.
Now, do you have any favorite tracks?
I like Indy, even though it's usually hot and kind of greasy and you can't run too fast there. But my flexible chassis seems to work well on greasier tracks than some of the stiffer chassis. Yeah, probably Indy.